Welcome everyone, welcome to Mr. Teach Film Preach, and today I am talking about the top 5 surprises or surprising films and the top 5 disappointing films of 2023. And today we have our special guest, so excited to have him back. It is Yusuf from YK Review. Yusuf, what's up buddy, how you doing?
Not too bad, recovering from the illness, but getting better now.
Me too, we were just talking about before we jumped on camera here, like, both of us are going to be coughing a few times throughout this video. So, Yusuf, how did it go building your list?
To be honest with you, it was more difficult doing the surprises because there was so many.
Yeah, me too.
Like, the disappointing ones, I could only find 5 for that list. Top 5 surprising, there was just so many that really just caught me off guard of how great it was. Like, this year's been really great in terms of movies. Like, there was a lot of great picks.
Make sure you click that like button and subscribe down below. Don't forget to comment what are your favorite, or I should say surprises of the year, and what are the films that you were like really looking forward to and you were super disappointed in. Also, make sure you go over to YK Reviews and click and like as well. Make sure to join up and check out his channel. I know that I first got addicted to his channel by the tier rankings. I know you do lots of news as well, and I love that you do that too. So if you're into all that stuff, definitely head over to his channel, and it's awesome content over there. And you just recently hit 300 subscribers, didn't you?
Yes.
Congratulations, brother. That's amazing. That's so sweet.
Yes!
Let's jump into our first half of this discussion. Is going to be our top 5 disappointing films of 2023. Let's jump into some honorable mentions.
I kind of have like movies that disappointed me in certain acts. One example would be The Marvels. Like I said it in my review, I enjoyed the first act. It's not a terrible movie, but like the second, like middle of the second act towards the third act kind of let me down. But I don't feel like it was the most disappointing movie for me. Similar with, like, I would say, running through my mind right now, Knock at the Cabin.
And I guess it's like technically dishonorable mentions, I guess, then honorable mentions. Okay, I have a couple. First one is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It definitely underperformed, and really in the CGI department and in the visual effects department. I know we kind of mentioned about this when we did our top 10 MCU films, which you can find that video somewhere up by Yusuf's head. Another one is The Little Mermaid, the live action Little Mermaid. Some of the songs, they destroyed some of the classics like Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl, and I was like, no. Those are my dishonorable mentions. Okay, so let's jump into our actual list, and let's start at number 5 here with you, Yusuf.
For number 5, I've got 65. When I heard the premise, when I saw the trailer, I was expecting this to be like a great dinosaur movie. I don't know what they were thinking. It just felt so flat. Like,
You're flat!
The character dynamic between him and the little girl, the way they like used the dinosaurs, it left me with such a bad taste in my mouth that I just was so gutted. Like, this was such a perfect opportunity, like a great premise you could use. And then it just was so wasted with like the plot, the story, and just everything about it. I don't think it's like the worst movie of the year, but it's definitely one that, given like what was presented to us, given the premise, was just so underutilized.
My number 5 goes to Flora and Son. John Carney, who's a director, he directed musical sort of movies called like Once, Begin Again, Sing Street. A lot of his movies have amazing soundtracks. The music is terrible. It sucks.
Peter, you suck. Peter, your music is terrible.
And it's so disappointing because John Carney and his track record is amazing. He has at least great soundtracks. His movies are usually very heartwarming, very sweet, quite funny as well. This movie didn't really have any of it, and so it was a total misfire. The acting was good, and that's pretty much it. When you can't even enjoy the songs, it's just like... Yusuf, what is your number 4?
Number 4 for me was Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Like, I had a fun time with the first one. Like, I really liked the first one. But then this one, I don't know, like, I just was looking around, like, what am I watching? Like, is this... Why? Why?
Why?
The story they went with, like, even the villains too, it felt just very underwhelming. And even like with Zachary Levi's performance, it just didn't feel the same as it did with the first movie. Even like the characters too, like his family, just weren't used as much as I wanted it to be, as much as I wanted them to be used. Like, I honestly just don't remember them after the movie. Like, they're very forgettable in the rest of the movie, and it's just like, it just felt really, really underwhelming and like just another letdown for me in terms of like a comic book movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is also on my list somewhere at some point. Like, it just, I don't know, it's a very much a dud. It's very forgetful, and for me, forgetful is very disappointing. So those often go kind of hand in hand. So Yusuf had to change locations for a second.
You got my setup.
Yeah.
Although, having some issues with the shelf, so...
This is what I'm used to seeing. Okay, all right. My number 4 is you probably haven't heard of this movie. It's a small little kind of thriller indie film called The Royal Hotel, set in this Australian outback town that's like a coal mining town. And the film had so much promise. The trailers make it look amazing. It looks like this amazing thriller, sort of scary, kind of intense kind of movie. And it's not that at all. It wants to be a coming-of-age story, and then it also wants to be a sort of sexual psycho thriller, but it never commits to either one. And by the end of the movie, you're like, really? This is the story? Why? Like, some great actors in it, and had good promise, and it had a decent premise. It's like they had a loaded gun, and they never pulled the trigger.
Pull the trigger! Do it! Do it!
What are you guys doing? Why did you make this movie then? So it was totally mismarketed. Give me that hour and 50 minutes back. Like, wow. Yusuf, what is your number 3?
So number 3 for me would be Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. I was expecting so much with this, but the way they wrote Indiana Jones, like old man that's just disheveled and like grumpy, that's not what I wanted from Indiana Jones. Like the character that's from the first 3 movies, like nobody wants to see him as this like grumpy old man yelling at the neighbors. And even like the whole third act of the time travel thing, like the concept was decent, but it just, the way it was executed, just felt very bland. And even like the character, the female that was with him, I can't remember the character's name.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I remember the actress's name, but
it's like one minute she's like good to him, the next minute she's just so rude to him, and it's just like we're like rooting for Indiana Jones, so the character that's with him is like the one that's being rude to him, disrespectful to him, and it's just like very, very disappointing when like I believe it's the final movie of the franchise, and the villain of the movie, like
Mads Mikkelsen's, yeah,
he was very underutilized too. And it was just said Kingdom of Crystal Skull is watchable. This one just throw it in the ocean, to be honest.
Into the ocean, end it all.
Poor Indy. Okay, my number 3 is The Flash. Putting aside everything that happened to Ezra Miller, I've never liked him. I've never liked him as an actor. And that also includes as Barry Allen. So I thought he was miscast from the get-go. The movie went through multiple directors, so, you know, that's always an issue when there's like 4 or 5 directors. But, man, the CGI in this movie is horrendous. It looks awful. Is it video games from, like, the early 2000s? Like, that's what it looked like my PlayStation 1 and 2 graphics.
PlayStation.
That's horrible when you have a movie that's millions and millions of dollars, and you have, you know, these great actors like Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, and I can't remember the girl's name.
Sasha Calle.
Thank you. She was great as Supergirl, and like, you know, so there's a good cast there, but the story, not very well shot. There were some plot holes the size of the Titanic in this movie. I love Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman and Tim Burton and stuff, but it felt like a gimmick. This to me is, for sure, hands down, one of the most disappointing films of the year.
Boo, you whore.
Well, I might as well say it now. Like, The Flash is my number 2 most disappointing movie of the year. And what really gets to me is the hype of the movie beforehand. Like, you've had James Gunn come out, say it's the best comic book movie. You had, Tom Cruise saying that this is like the number 1 comic book movie, and like people praising this movie. So I'm going in there, not with high expectations, but I'm going in there like, okay, this is going to be, like, I'm expecting a great, fun movie. But then, like you said, right from the get-go, like the first act, the visual effects was so bad with like even the babies falling off the building.
What was with the babies in the microwave?
I don't even know. Like I'm sitting, like I literally had to just. I thought I was wearing 3D glasses. I literally went like this just to make sure that I wasn't wearing 3D glasses while I'm watching this movie. And it's just, even like that third act, like you bring back Zod, Sasha Kaye as Supergirl, and it was just so wasted. The cameos, and it just looked absolutely terrible. Like you had Nicolas Cage on like a Superman outfit but it looked so terrible. But I do agree. I do feel like he was miscast. Like there was some good moments in there, especially with his mum in the supermarket.
Yes.
Like that was a really powerful scene. But then even like with the Justice League movies too, he doesn't feel like Barry Allen. Like you've got Grant Gustin from the Flash series who does a fantastic job as Barry Allen. And it was infuriating because of the hype that everybody's giving it, and then what they put out, it left me with such a bad taste in my mouth. Michael Keaton was probably the only good thing from the movie.
Total misfire. Okay, so The Flash is my number 3, and it's also your number 2. Well, that makes this super easy. My number 2 is Fast 10, or Fast X. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, man, I hated it. It was stupid. It was a dumb movie. And I love the Fast and Furious franchise. Number 5 is hands down the best one.
100%.
So well done. And Justin Lin did a great job. And that same director was actually directing Fast 10 and then was let go when they brought in Louis Leterrier, who's a decent director, but to handle a Fast and Furious movie, he cannot.
No, you can't. Don't even try.
You can see how it's actually fake background. And, like, this is a movie that's got, like, $200 million or something. The special effects were awful at times. Like, when the car at the end of the movie is going down the dam, again, it looked like a computer graphics from 2007. Like, what are they doing? I thought Jason Momoa was over the top in not a good way. Like, I hated his performance in this movie. Now, again, I might be in the minority camp because people loved him in this. It was like Aquaman, but if Aquaman was a psychopath, and it didn't work. Every choice that they made, like, there were twists in the movie where you're supposed to be like, oh my goodness, and I was like, I could see this coming from a mile away, boring. Like, it was a total letdown. The action wasn't even that great. It's very forgetful. I've already kind of forgotten what happens in the whole movie. It was extremely disappointing. As a fan of the franchise, it's kind of been dipping since number 8. Number 9 isn't great. And I thought this definitely hit the bottom of the slums.
Like, Jason Momoa, I do find was a great villain. Like, his performance did work for me. And, like, the back and forth he had with Vin Diesel, I feel like did work. But I do understand the criticism. I can see where you're coming from, especially, like, if you are comparing 5, 6, and 7 versus now. And plus with this one being sort of like a part 1.
Oh, I hated that. I hated the ending. I'm sick of this movie. Let's get down to brass tacks here. So what is your number 1?
For me, the most disappointing movie was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I was just really looking forward to them really kicking things off with Phase 5. Like, Phase 4 was very, very hit and miss. Phase 5, we're going into, like, a new phase, going in strong. We're introducing Kang. And then you have the weirdest looking MODOK CGI in there. As you mentioned in the honorable mentions part, like, the storyline just really felt weak. There was just not enough, like, stakes in there. The visual effects just looked off. The ending just felt very anticlimactic. Like, the trailers showing off that, okay, Scott Lang might be stuck in the quantum realm. You have the underwhelming fight sequence, and then him just sort of in, like, the last scene just walking around talking to himself as if nothing happened, and then that's how you defeat Kang. Like, this is the setup to, like, the big bad of the next phases. This was not what I was expecting going into this movie, and it just felt such a letdown. And then the most infuriating thing was with MODOK, like his, spoiler alert, death sequence, and just the jokes that were being made with him saying, oh, he's an Avenger now. Like, I'm
not a total shithead or whatever.
Yeah, like, I just literally, once that scene happened, I I was like eating my popcorn and I just crushed the popcorn in my hand and just threw it on the floor because I was so annoyed with that. Like, I hate with what MCU is like, just joke after joke after joke when you can't just have like a moment to just let it sink in. Like, from this to then Shazam, Fury of the Gods, like these comic book movies, to then The Flash. These movies just were letting me down left, right, and center this year.
Okay, so I'll tell you now, my number one, because it has to do with what you're saying, my number one most disappointing film of 2023 is Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So we don't really need to talk about it anymore, because to me, that's the most forgetful movie of this year. The thing that Ant-Man and the Wasp, The Flash, and Shazam, Fury of the Gods all have in common is that they have stories that don't have very high stakes, and they have CGI issues all over them. And it's disappointing because they could do so much better. They are just not executing it. So I totally agree. Ant-Man and the Wasp definitely deserves to be on this list. So those were our most disappointing films of the year. Let's flip the switch here. Let's flip the battery over. And let's talk about now our top 5 most surprising films of 2023. Yusuf, do you have any honorable mentions?
So I've got 2. The first one was A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly movie really did surprise me with the story beats and the plot. And even just like, Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors in Hollywood, and I genuinely was surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie, how emotionally invested I got with this. So my other one was Elemental. I never got to watch it in theaters, but I was able to watch it maybe like last month with my son on Disney Plus, and the animations just look incredible on my TV. And my son, like 3 years old, has watched it maybe 4 or 5 times now. I don't even think he understands the storyline or anything like that. I think he just loves looking at the colors. I was surprised. Like, I remember like it was getting a lot of mixed reviews when initially it came out, and people were just saying it was an okay movie. People were praising this movie. But then when I watched it, I was genuinely surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. And it was one of the greatest Pixar movies they've done recently.
I have 4 honorable mentions, and I'll kind of fly through them. The first one is No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. It's the comedy film that she did this past summer. I laughed my ass off in this movie. I thought it was really funny. The next one's another comedy film, and it's called Joyride. Joyride was a laugh fest. I was laughing almost the whole time. Heartwarming and heart-wrenching movie at times. Like, they bring the drama and stuff. Like, it's nice to see that in a still balls to the wall, full-out comedy film. The next one is a film I just saw the other night called Past Lives. This movie was a shock. As soon as the movie ended, I went, wow, that was a beautiful film. So thoughtful and so mature, and handles the subject matter just wonderfully. And the last movie on my list is a Disney Plus movie called No One Will Save You. Really well-directed film. Such a good job at creating this kind of Lovecraftian thriller movie with alien invasion. Okay, let's jump into our lists. What is your number 5 choice for most surprising film of 2023?
So number 5 for me is the Super Mario Brothers movies.
Oh, I almost put it on my list.
I had such a great time in the theaters watching this. Like, I was thinking that this is going to be a decent movie based on the trailers. I was a bit worried with Chris Pratt voicing Mario, but I was not expecting to enjoy this movie as much as I did. I had like a great time with it, like just watching this little montage of like Mario with like the Eye of the Tiger song being played, the Peaches song by Jack Black, which I still listen to this day. Peaches, Peaches. No pun intended, but it's peach perfect for me. And I wasn't expecting for this to be such a great adaptation and an amazing animation and amazing voice casting. Like, believe if I'm not mistaken, it did make $1 billion.
Even like Charlie Day's Luigi, it's like pitch perfect.
Yes.
I'm not even joking. Like, I almost teared up a little bit where like it looks like Mario's gonna like get engulfed by all those flames, and then he like puts his head down and he looks up and Luigi's there with like the steel sewer cover. And I'm like, yeah! I was so like, they really did awesome like fan service, but they didn't just like put fan service in there for the sake of it. It was a part of the plot and the story. Like, even the Mario Kart race scene on Rainbow Road.
Yeah, oh my god.
Like, it was like, I want, like, Mad Max Fury Road, but, like, Mad Mario Rainbow Road. Like, because it was so good. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Chris Pratt surprisingly pulled it off, and I'm glad they weren't doing just like woohoo and like it's me, a Mario, like the whole time.
Yeah.
They actually gave him a voice, and it makes sense for the film. You don't want to do that stereotypical over the top Italian accent. That makes him a caricature, not a character. So they just did a lot of smart choices with the direction they took this movie in. Okay, so number 5 was the Super Mario Bros. For you. Number 5 for me is Dungeons and Dragons. It's so funny. I can't believe how hilarious this movie is. Chris Pine is amazing. He's one of my favorites. Him and Michelle Rodriguez working together off each other very nicely. Hugh Grant plays an awesome villain in this film. The writers, directors, Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, they wrote like the movies Horrible Bosses, Game Night.
3 bags of Tostito scoops, I notice.
They just had a lot of fun. You could tell that they're fans of D&D because they paid a lot of fan service, but it made sense again to the story. If you're just looking for a good romp, a movie just under 2 hours, and you just want to have a fun fantasy adventure that makes you laugh, definitely Dungeons and Dragons is the movie for you. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is the Barbie movie.
Nice.
I genuinely was not anticipating to have as much fun as I did. Like, I'll be completely honest, like, the only reason I went to watch this was because of the hype of Barbenheimer. Like, everybody's doing this double feature, so
I did it.
I wanted to be like, I was there. I took part in Barbenheimer too. It blew me away with like the enjoyment of it. Granted, like the third act did get a bit preachy, but like Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie together as a dynamic duo really worked well. The songs in there too, like Dua Lipa's song in the beginning, like I hear it all the time on the radio, and then the Ken.
I'm just Ken.
Anywhere else I'd be a 10.
It's so perfect. Like the characters and just everything was working well together. Generally was surprised at how much enjoyment I got, especially with like the theaters just so packed out, like so many people wearing pink, so many people dressed as like in suits just to watch this. Like the theater experience alone, plus the movie just being enjoyable, I think really just caught me off guard at how much I enjoyed this movie.
My number 4 is Blue Beetle. I saw the trailers and I said out loud in the movie theater, I went, I won't see that movie. It came out and people were like, it's actually not bad. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll go check it out. And I had a blast. I had so much fun. The best thing about this movie were the fight scenes, like when he is hand-to-hand combat against the guys in the suit. I was like, whoa! The action's actually, they're using practical effects. They're actually like throwing people across the room. There was actual legit good special effects being incorporated with a lot of CGI. And it's not perfect CGI, but it was sure a hell of a lot better than The Flash. It was sure a hell of a lot better than Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Zolo from Cobra Kai, he was great. He was an awesome Blue Beetle. Really liked him as Jamie Reyes. I thought the family dynamic was hilarious.
Yes.
The family was excellent. Like George Lopez as the uncle is hysterical. I thought the family was almost like just as good as the superhero himself. And I really like that. I like that they had an ensemble feel to this movie. The Blue Beetle powers are cool. I was expecting trash, and I actually got some pretty decent fast food.
I was slightly worried after Shazam and The Flash, but yeah, it came out to be a fun, entertaining movie, and I'm really happy that he is going to be returning to James Gunn's universe too. I do like the character, and I definitely want to see more of him.
What is your number 3?
Number 3 for me is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go!
I kind of was just a little bit worried with this. I just felt like because the kids are teenagers and Seth Rogen being part of the movie, not that he's like bad or anything like that, I just felt like it might just go with like too much of a comedy route. Even like the animation style too was kind of getting me a little bit worried because it just didn't, growing up as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, like just always enjoyed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, no matter what. I even have like these little small figures with me as well. But then when the movie came out, really surprised me with how great, emotionally heartfelt it was. Like the element with Splinter as well, and like focusing on him and his teenagers aspect. It worked so well. Like there was so much heart in this, so much emotion, so much passion that you really feel it. And I just had such a blast. And when the movie ended, I'm so happy that they announced there's going to be like a series, there's going to be a sequel. Like I want more of these. I sound so old, but them talking and slang and stuff like that, a lot of it went over my head.
You didn't get all the TikTok jokes in there?
And I genuinely had no clue what they were saying at times when they were talking about, like, there was that part where, like, even, I think it was Michelangelo who was, like, twerking at time. I was like, what is that? Like, I don't get it. Am I old now? Like, does this qualify me as old?
Yeah, we are, Yusuf. Yeah, we are.
Beautifully done, and I'm so happy with this movie. And I think I put it as, like, the third best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that I've done in my tier ranking.
I loved Ice Cube as Superfly. I thought he was a really cool villain. Like, 6 a.m., police knocking on my door. And I was like, yes. Like, I love the little, like, hip-hop vibe that they added into the movie. This is definitely a great film. My number 3, it's The Holdovers. So this movie, when it was coming out, I was kind of like, all right, let's check it out. And it might be one of the best films of the year. The performances are astonishing. Paul Giamatti is maybe the best he's ever been. Divine Joy Randolph is going to be nominated for a Best Supporting Actress for this movie. She is phenomenal. Just the whole cast was great. The style, the tone. The movie's made like a 1970s movie. The cinematography, the beautiful characters, great direction, the story. It all comes together so nicely. And it's a lot better of a film than it has any reason to be. So that's why it's number 3 on my list. What is your number 2?
So my number 2 would be It's Saw X with Billy the Puppet right here.
Yes!
I really wasn't excited when this movie was announced. Or the best Saw movie since the original movie. Like, this one really just brought everything that you love about Saw back, and from like Tobin Bell's performance to the heart of like the movie, the traps too, it just worked so well. The premise is just so simple, and yet it was executed so brilliantly, and it just got me more excited. Like the fact that they announced the Saw 11 really gets me pumped. So yeah, this is the second most surprising movie for me of the year.
I think this is the best Saw film after the first one. So I totally agree with you. So my number 2 is a film. It's called How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
It's not something that I really was like too intrigued about or wanting to go watch.
Same. So I went to the theater by myself. There was like 4 people in there, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe how good this movie is. Forgetting the political stuff in it, because there are some like political standpoints that they do talk about. And, okay, getting a little preachy. This is a great thriller heist, even though it's not a heist, it's a getting into sabotage, but it's like almost like Ocean's 11 with very realistic world take on it. And it is thrilling. Why they're doing what they're doing is revealed through like these flashbacks, but it also reveals so much about each character who's a part of this plot. And it brings up a lot of really heavy-handed topics and a lot of really interesting questions it poses about, can we change things without getting extreme? Just the questions that this movie poses alone are fantastic. But the actors are great. There's no one really big in this movie. So the movie feels very raw, real, visceral, scary at times, pulse pounding. And it is an adrenaline ride that is definitely worth the watch. Highly recommend it.
That was totally wicked!
What is your number 1 gold medal?
For me, the most surprising movie, and my second favorite movie of the year now, is Godzilla -1. And have you seen the movie?
Not yet.
It's an incredible movie, and like I'm going to try to avoid spoilers for you, but I just was absolutely blown away because it balances everything, like the human characters plus the the character of Godzilla, and Godzilla looks fantastic in this movie. Like, it was first coming out that it's going to be a $15 million budget of this movie, but then apparently after like the movie came out, it was apparently done less than $15 million, and that just makes it even more special. Like, you're so invested with not only just Godzilla and like the ferociousness and how menacing and scary he is in this movie, but the human characters as well. Like, I was just glued to the screen, and like how everything just went along with the movie, how the characters, the human characters, are brought in and focusing on them from time to time in the movie. There's like a story arc plot from like the first act that gets brought back into the third act, and that was just so beautifully tied in. Once the movie ended, I was just sitting there like, my God, what the hell did I just witness? That's how amazing this movie is, and I've been wanting to go watch it once again. I just have not had the time. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a number one, but this one is hands down number two. Just amazing movie, and I've seen nothing but praise when it comes to this movie with the reviews that are coming out. So I feel like this movie puts Hollywood to shame with their MonsterVerse movies.
Shame, 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 shame.
Oh, sweet.
That's how amazing it is. So even if you're not a Godzilla fan, you'll love this movie. You'll have such a great time with it.
Wow, I was not expecting that, but I'm so glad you brought a surprise to the table.
Surprise!
My number one choice for most surprising film of 2023 is Gran Turismo.
Was not expecting that.
I saw the trailers for it and I was like, this movie looks stupid. And then I found out this actually happened. And then I found out it was being directed by Neil Blomkamp. I'm not sure why Neil Blomkamp chose to do this film, but I'm so glad he did, because he shot the hell out of this movie. The racing scenes are stunning and interesting and different and fresh. Best racing movie I've seen since Ford v Ferrari, because they kind of combined video games with real life driving and had real stunts being done and had the actual person in real life, Jan, whatever his name is, he actually did the stunt driving for this movie. This movie is a great underdog story. Don't think like I'm saying this is like, you know, the best directed movie ever. It's not even the best film of the year or anything like that. But considering I had no desire to see it, could care less about Gran Turismo, and then the main actor, his name is Archie Madekwe, and I wasn't sure about what his performance was going to be, and he was phenomenal in this movie. And I think this is a really crowd-pleasing movie. I think that's why, to me, it is the movie that stands out of all the other films. It impressed me the most. Baffled at how good it was directed, how well it was written, the acting was great. Just all of that combined made for a really surprising yet entertaining and engaging movie that's very satisfying to watch. So that's why, for me, Gran Turismo is the most surprising film.
It's got me wanting to watch it now, especially just to see the race sequences here.
It's worth it. It's just even worth it for the race sequences. And there we have it, my friend. We got our lists. Yay! Anything that you're looking forward to doing?
There is, again, that one project I've been working on since March that is pretty much wrapped up. I just got to watch maybe 2 more seasons of a certain show, and then that video is going to be coming out. Possibly debating on doing a tier ranking for the best movies then, since just a lot of movies I need to catch up on here. But yeah, like a good chunk of tier ranking videos coming out pretty soon.
Sweet. Well, definitely have to go check those out on YK Reviews. Make sure you like and subscribe and check out those videos that are coming out. He's got great content. I also just want to say thank you so much, Yusuf, for being here tonight yet again. And also, make sure you click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. What were your 5 surprising movies and your 5 disappointing films of 2023? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for doing that. It's always a pleasure, and I always have so much fun, so we'll make sure that we have another collab somewhere on the horizon.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing these.
Thank you so much for being here, and stay focused, stay awesome, and as always, let's get taught. Thanks so much, Yusuf.